John, we've just gotten over kind of like a deep freeze here in New York. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'm sorry to hear that. You feeling okay? You look great. And you
Thank
know
you.
it's
I
better to
feel
look good
fine.
than it is to feel, right? It's better to
Yeah,
look good
that's
than it
the
is to feel
old
good. Yeah. So, and you look
Fernando's hideaway.
something
Yes,
like
you
that. But
look
you look, yeah,
fabulous.
you look
Marvelous.
marvelous. You look marvelous.
Marvelous, right? Remember what a
Fantastic.
sensation that was?
It
Man,
was huge. It was huge. I mean, he
yes.
became a wealthy man because of that. No, actually, he was very talented in soap.
Yeah, it
Right?
was
He was
hilarious.
great. That was funny as hell. Soap was very,
But
very
we're going to
funny.
be
So
speaking about some other clowns tonight, aren't we, John?
quite a few, quite a few. I mean, I think Rochelle Walensky won she drew the short straw for the thumbnail tonight. So congratulations to the art department.
Thank you.
Fantastic work there for those of you who are afraid of clowns. I understand.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a look at a couple clowns tonight. In particular, when we get to our patron only hour, we're going to dig into some of the people who've been reluctant to face really important aspects of the story. And we've got a big show tonight. We got a lot of great stuff. We got a lot of video clips for our patron only hour. So when we go to Subscribestar and Patreon, you want to tell people about that stuff because that's where I've got like 5 or 6 video clips, but we can't play them on YouTube.
You're
So
right.
that's
We'll
going to be
get
for our
bounced.
patron. That'll be for our patron only hour. So you
Regular
want to
viewers
explain about
know
that?
that you and I are
Yeah.
doing the sponsor exclusive shows on subscribestar.com/I am John Cullen, patreon.com/I am John Cullen, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsource the truth. You know, John, there's a lot of people who maybe haven't seen David Hawkins' Discovery CSI, and you probably heard, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, some guy took a hammer to that pedophile statue outside the BBC broadcasting house and did some serious damage to it.
Oh
David is the
wow.
person who first alerted me to that thing and all the weird details surrounding it. And we had an unbelievable show today. Did you, well, I don't know if I want to reveal this because it's in the sponsor exclusive segment on David's show, but let's do it. Did you know that Joe Biden was one of the senators in the church committee?
I did not know that. No, I did
I
not know
think
that.
most people did not know that, and we discovered that printed right on the church committee findings. It's amazing how they've tried to bury that. That was an investigation into the activities of the CIA, headed up by Senator Frank Church. And I don't know if you know this, but Frank Church, he met an untimely death at a pretty young age. I think he was 59, died of pancreatic cancer. That was kind of sad because he really broke ground investigating the CIA. This is what created the House Select Committee on Intelligence that was, supposed to be doing oversight there.
And
Unfortunate
he,
that he
yeah,
died
he died in what year? 64? Was it?
84 at age
84,
59.
84.
Yeah, the hearings were in 1975, and of course George H.W. Bush was there with Colby. William Colby was the director of the
Mhm.
CIA, and they were super pissed off. Colby also died under very strange circumstances. So I don't know that we're going to talk about the CIA too much, or at least not directly tonight. We might be talking about them whether we realize it or not.
Right.
What have you got for us today, John?
Well, we got a busy, busy show. It's been a huge week in the news and some watershed events, all kinds of new developments. I think we have to do our disclaimer first of all, right? I'm not a doctor, uh, although I look good in a white lab coat. I'm
We
not a
haven't seen that.
doctor. Right. Well, I guess I'll have to get one. So, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I am an expert at data and I am an expert at maps. So that's my area of expertise.
Right.
And what we're going to share tonight, there's no advice, right? So this is entertainment and opinion. So if there's no information, there can be no misinformation.
I don't
Keep
think
it
you should
simple.
sell yourself short, John. You're also an excellent Twitter antagonist. You've been ruffling feathers all over there for quite a while.
Doing my
You've
best.
broken 2,000 followers. This is a new Twitter account. Obviously, you were kicked off in one of the previous purges. We know that they're into basically boosting, they have this term, misinformation. But it really is just any information that is not their information, because there's things that they're saying that seem to contradict things that they said previously. And even in some cases, it aligns with stuff that you and I have been saying. I don't know if we can even say it here on YouTube, because some of it is stuff that we've been kicked off for before, but we're going to speak freely on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/IamJohnCullen and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsource the truth. But let's tiptoe and dance between the raindrops here while we start to kind of.
Well, that's, exactly. So I feel that misinformation, first of all, is sexist, right? Oh. Misinformation.
Wait a minute. Right? You just gave me a brilliant idea. What? We got sued for doing I got sued for doing a non-awards show. Maybe we should have a beauty pageant and crown misinformation.
That's a great idea. That's great. But I find it sexist, right? And, when they talk about misinformation, right, it's kind of like a beauty pageant, because what they do is they parade these experts in front of you. And I don't know if you guys are on Twitter or not, and if you've seen it, but we're going to take a look at that tonight, because one of the things that Dr. Walensky said on TV this week, I think it was Good Morning America, spawned this warning from Twitter that's being taken out of context and et cetera. And that's why we've got, so much content to look at tonight. Really, it's been a very big week. So, why don't we get right into our deck, and we'll talk about the things that we can talk about on YouTube. First of all, YouTube friendly content. Can ice cream help COVID symptoms? Right? We want to keep it YouTube friendly, so we don't want to talk about the V word. So we'll talk about ice cream, because who doesn't love ice cream?
Joe
Puppies. Well, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi's a big fan of ice cream, right? So,
right.
Right. So
ice cream.
Who doesn't love ice cream? And if ice cream can help COVID symptoms, according to MSN, which is Microsoft News Network, right? So according to MSN, they're talking about ice cream. Now, I don't know if it actually has any kind of curative things, but it says, can it help the symptoms? Like if you have a sore throat.
Are they serious? Are they saying that it can?
I don't know. I just recommend that people look into it, because this is our YouTube friendly hour where, or half hour where we get to talk about things that kind of don't matter, right? So we talk about ice cream and other kind of fluffy stuff like puppies and kittens. And, right?
I don't know. That
so dubious. Ice cream. Who doesn't love ice cream? So the big watershed story though for the week was this interview that Brett Baer did with Rochelle Walensky, where he asks her a number of pointed questions. And we're going to explore that in depth when we get into our patron-only hour. But we're also going to take a look in the show at a number of sort of the big names. I keep getting a whole bunch of emails and a whole bunch of tweets that I should look at this and look at that. And more often than not, these same two names come up, and it's on the next one. And one of the names that seems to come up rather regularly is this guy in the bow tie with the 1950s microphone. So I guess he's recording at the sock hop or something. So Dr. David Martin's name keeps coming up, and we're going to share with the audience a little bit about what you and I experienced with him together directly one day when he was doing a show live.
The new discovery we've made about this guy that I can't believe that people don't know and that he's not being forthright about.
Right. So we got a whole bunch of material on him in tonight's show. And then on the next slide is the other guy with him who we keep hearing a whole bunch about. Right now, this guy just did a whole bunch of shows recently, and he's doing other people's podcasts and getting hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. And his perspective is so flawed when you look at the data that our audience has been looking at, and then you listen to what these two guys are saying. It's like, and I'm going to explain why in the show. All right. So I'm going to explain to the audience, why is it that their actions are so suspicious?
Yeah.
And we're going to take a look at that. All right. So let's go to the next slide.
Yes. And this is not going to be a cat fighting, dirt mud flinging. This is going to be facts
it's just
and
real
evidence.
specific. Yeah. It's just real specific.
Just to be clear, John, anything that we say, these guys are welcome to refute, debate, private phone call, their show, our show, whatever. But
To be clear, we've invited them both on the show.
Tonight.
You and I, in the chat room on one of David Martin's shows, invited him to come on our show when he had 4 people watching. And you and I were 2 of the 4, and we were both in the chat room trying to engage him and get him to come on Crowdsource the Truth as a guest.
Than that, Dr. Simone Gold told Reiner Fulnick to have you on.
Told Reiner, well, that's Reiner. So I'm talking about David Martin.
But
you and I were in David Martin's chat room.
You know?
What's that?
They were obviously avoiding us.
Yeah. Well, David Martin, you and I were in his chat room. Dr. Simone Gold told Reiner Fulmick, you need to talk to John Cullen, as did Tom Renz, the attorney.
Right.
And so Reiner Fulmick and I corresponded. And I introduced myself as the guy who built the mapping system. I introduced the idea that, there weren't 10 dead in Shanghai or Beijing, and a couple other data tidbits. And we never connected. He showed no interest, which I found. So I'm going to explain why it's suspicious as we get into the show a little bit deeper. Another thing that's kind of interesting is a lot of people have been saying, hey, you need to get on Getter. You need to get on Getter, right?
I'm on there.
So I'm kind of reluctant, because for me, it's hard enough to post the stuff to Twitter, post the stuff to YouTube, post the stuff to Subscribestar, post the stuff to Patreon, and you're doing Rumble and Odyssey and BitChute.
Lawsuits.
I mean, you're all, and you got 7 lawsuits. So I don't know how you do all this stuff. I have a hard time just keeping up with YouTube and Twitter and Subscribestar and Patreon, and I can't keep all of it. And you got more plates spinning than I do. So
I am on Getter, but not that
you're
many
on
people
Getter.
are looking at.
Well, you may want to get when you see this, you may want to get the hell off. So the story out of Politico says the newest MAGA app is tied to a Bannon-allied Chinese billionaire. And then the next story, though, is the scarier one. And that's the one where Getter got hacked. And 90,000 user locations were exposed, and the accounts cannot be deleted. So this keeps happening.
But wait, how does it know your location? You put it on the phone. I didn't do that.
Well, so I don't use phones.
Does the computer have a GPS in it? Probably it does.
They use Wi-Fi. Yeah. They have location stuff in computers based on your Wi-Fi.
Right. They know where you are to get the time zone and everything.
Yeah. So the fact that they got hacked, lovely. Now we have another new segment, right? And this is an exciting segment. Everybody's excited about. This is the Flu-Rona files. And this week, of course, we've got more Flu-Rona. And we've got Flu-Rona hitting the U.S. amid a record COVID-19 cases and a resurgence of influenza. So influenza.
We got no flu.
Tony, we got no flu. And when we get some flu, it's Flu-Rona, right? It's Flu-Rona, which is a very scientific term, right? It came out of Stanford, right? The Stanford guys came up with Flu-Rona. And then we've got another great segment this week. Everybody's been asking about this on Twitter. Very excited. This is the new segment, Are People as Dumb as Their Tweets? And in this segment, we take a look at some of these Dunning-Kruger responses. So I'll post something. Yeah, I mean,
this person says Nigerians have a much tougher immune system since they live with questionable water sources full of bacteria, which is why they have lower death rates over there. They're more used to viruses. Is this person serious?
So I'm not trying to pick on any one person, and it's not any one thing that she says. I'm assuming Anita is a woman. I don't know. Anita could be a dude for all I know these days. But here's the thing. Nigeria has over 200 million people and fewer people dead than Rhode Island.
Strong.
One more time. Yeah. And she's telling me about the water, and that because they have. Right.
Yeah, do you think this person has conducted some sort of medical survey? Like, she's not citing any kind of data. This is just some imaginary. She might as well have said the tooth fairy must be over there in Nigeria.
That's the point. Right. That's the point. Is this is Dunning-Kruger. This is when faced with cognitive dissonance that's so intense, that's so strong, where the delta between the narrative and the evidence is so huge that people start coming up with ideas and excuses just out of nowhere. It's like, wait a second. We've been researching this for 2 years, right? And when I tell you that, Nigeria has fewer people dead than Rhode Island, and the response is that they've got a tougher, there's 200 million people there.
But also, do they have, that's just totally made up. That's based on no actual data. It's
right. It's just complete hearsay. And this is common. And many of the people in the audience who are watching right now are shaking their heads up and, they're nodding up. Yeah, like, that's exactly what the kind of crap we hear when we show people the data. People come up with reasons why there's nobody dead in Taiwan. Less than 1,000 people are dead in Taiwan. Taiwan has more people than New York. And when you explain that to somebody, they're like, yeah, but they and they don't have diabetes and they're not obese. And it's like, well, how do you know this? Where do you come up with this crap?
But also, why is that a better reason? I mean, we just have a lot of, fat people who want free health insurance because they think if you're fat and get sick and insurance is free, you're going to go to the doctor and fix you. They don't realize that you're going to get sick and die no matter what the health insurance costs.
Pretty much, right. All right. So this next one, are people as dumb as their tweets? Let's see. This is one of my tweets. Gee whiz. Okay. Pediatric influenza deaths went from 144 to 199 to 1 to 2.
What do you mean?
That's on the left side. All right. So we're looking at seasons. So the left side chart, the green chart, are pediatric influenza deaths. So 144, 199, then 1, and now 2. That's the green chart on the left. That's pediatric influenza. Now we look at pediatric school-age kids that died with COVID on the right, and it's 444.
These are CDC numbers as of today.
As of this past week, within, since last week's show. Yeah, since last week's show. So 444 school-age kids have died with COVID in the USA, and pediatric influenza deaths this season are tracking at 2, when 2 seasons ago was 199 and 144, and we're at 3 for the last season and a half here. So that's kind of
usually extraordinarily low, Brett.
Seems a little odd. All right, next slide. I found this interesting. Somebody that I tend to
think is a dope.
Well, I kind of lob, like gorillas throw their feces. I tend to do the same thing at him. So I every now and then I lob something at him, and he took it out of his description in his profile in Twitter. He used
took what out?
So his profile thing up there where it says senior editor, former Navy intelligence officer, used to say China analyst.
Oh.
And I kept putting posts up there saying, Mr. China analyst, is it true there's less than 10 people dead in Beijing? If you're China, how do you call yourself a China analyst and not address the fact that there aren't 10 dead in Shanghai and Beijing?
Well, he changes that description pretty frequently. I think it's kind of a part of his humorous take. Jack is very successful on Twitter. He's got a lot of people following and everything. He also has a pillow code and is on the Steve Bannon show. So I don't think I trust him. I've also had some personal interactions with him that caused me to not trust him. He is a slippery character.
Gotcha. Well, he took China analyst away when I was asking him about Beijing and Shanghai. Ni hao ma, let's go. Well, ching chang chong, let's go. All right, next
I don't
slide.
know if that's actual Chinese, but
yeah, absolutely. Ching chang chong, ping pang pong. All right, so this next slide, the doctor dubs this new strain Deltacron. So I'm having a little fun on Twitter with that. And
what happened, John? They used to have names like Wellbutrin and Paxil and these complicated sounding things.
Drugs.
Now they're just like,
those are
take
medicines.
the last two and jam them together.
Yeah. So it says that Cyprus finds COVID-19 infections that combine Delta and Omicron. And
Oh.
Bloomberg story says doctor dubs the new strain Deltacron. But what he doesn't know is that our audience has already named it Domicron.
Why?
So
Why? Oh, I
because
got
it's
it.
better, it's cooler. Domicron, Deltacron. What the hell, Deltacron? What the hell kind of name is Deltacron? That's
Not
crap.
impressive.
Domicron. That's much scarier. Domicron.
Right. You
All right.
obviously
So
consulted En Sheng Dong on that.
yes, and we win. Ours is better. It's that simple. So we have the better name. All right. Now this is kind of the thing that caused all the controversy this week on Twitter, and then we're going to
All
spend a
right.
lot of time on this when we go patron only. We've only got a couple more minutes, but when we go patron only, this is a Good Morning America appearance that Rochelle Walensky did, where she's asked about some comorbidity related stuff, and she throws some numbers out, but Twitter goes nuts and says, no, this is all taken out of context. Okay, so what we
But
do know,
everything on
though,
Twitter is taken out of context because it's 140 characters and 2 minutes of
well,
video.
right. So I published a video. This week that's getting pretty strong viewership, and
Oh,
it's on
yeah.
the next slide. And so this is the video that shows the interview with Good Morning America in its entirety. We break it down and critique it. And it shows her interview with Brett Baer. And we're going to look at just one or two of those questions when we go patron only. Let's just show the audience one or two more slides before we have to change over.
But real quick, John, this
Yeah.
how many people died of just COVID? That's on the John E. Hoover YouTube channel, or that's on Subscribestar and Patreon /I am John Cohen?
That's on YouTube. That's on Johnny Hoover on the YouTube
Ah.
channel. It's got, what is that, 4,000 views or something like that right now. And
Yeah, almost 5,000. It's doing well.
yeah, so people are watching that, and basically we're breaking down the interviews and listening to the questions. And what I did was I transcribed the questions, and that's what you're going to see on the next slide in the deck. When I put these videos together, like this one, this is what's going on behind the scenes. You guys don't get to see what Jason's sitting in front of a number of computers now and iPads, and he's switching things and running the show and talking to me and talking to you guys and searching for things all at the same time. When I do a video, I have multiple clips open. I've got spreadsheets open. I have OBS open. I've got a presentation thing open. I've got my hotkey thing over here. Yeah, so I got a lot of stuff going on. So this is what it takes to make these videos behind the scenes. Is I'm putting together various different. Yeah, this is the sausage factory. This is how it's done. So I understand everybody's like, oh, we want 3 videos a week and whatever. A lot has to go into producing these things. So I appreciate your patience as I put them together. And then the next slide is the last slide, really, that we're going to show on this show before we have to go patron only. And this is sort of the punchline, because this audience, the people who've been following us on Crowdsource the Truth, on the John Cohen Investigates channel, right? You've got a whole channel set up for some of the historic stuff that we've done on John Cohen Investigates. And the audience who watches on Johnny Hoover, Crowdsource the Truth, John Cohen Investigates, knows that we've been talking about these comorbidities for some time. And that was sort of the big thing that happened in this interview with Brett Baer, is he brings this up. And he says to Rochelle Walensky, how many people died with COVID and comorbidities, and how many people died from COVID? I was like,
and she's
whoa.
like, oh, I hate that question.
I mean, you talk about putting a point on it. Now, our audience knows that this is, the slide you have up here. The slide is the one that shows from the CDC the breakdown. And the CDC tells us that for over 5% of the deaths, COVID-19 was the only thing on the death certificate. And so
why do they say for over 5%? That could be 100%.
Because it's not 6. It used to be 6. And then they brought it down to 5. And I reported that. So
why don't they say for less than 6%?
Yeah, because they wish they could. They wish they could.
Mm-hmm. Well, Interesting.
So that's what it used to say. It used to say for over 6% of the deaths,
but for less
and then
than
they
6%.
ratcheted
It's
it down.
weird
Yeah,
wording. Everything that they're doing is confused messaging and contradictory statements to the extent that it feels like they don't know what the hell they're talking about. You were mentioning, John, the John Cullen Investigates YouTube channel. That is another Crowdsource the Truth channel that I've created, a co-host channel that I've created for our videos that we've been doing together for 4 years or something now. And people can subscribe to that. You can get simulcasts to the weekly shows. And I did reload some of our older interviews just over the past week. So people who want to go back and look at some of the Las Vegas investigation, the Pensacola stuff, there's some really good material in some of these older videos. So people who are, feeling like Joe Lombardo running for governor of Nevada is something they want to do a little research into what he has done in his career before they vote for somebody else. Checking out that channel could be a very good idea. But we're about to break, John. People will catch us in less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. On subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you all so much. Could not do this show without the viewer sponsors. And I really appreciate everybody who's sponsoring the show. We'll see you in a few minutes on Subscribestar and Patreon.